The Note 7 fire sale is over. Yahoo doesn't know how to forward your email, and you cannot poke people in the Facebook workplace. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1616, recorded Monday, October 10th, 2016. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by LinkedIn Learning. Develop talent and keep skills current with expert-led, on-demand e-learning. To request a demo for your organization or get a free individual trial, visit learning.linkedin.com/twit.
And by Jira Service Desk from Atlassian. Jira Service Desk delivers everything your IT team needs out of the box at a cost-effective price. For a free trial of Jira Service Desk, visit Atlassian.com/twit.
And by Zerto, virtual replication and disaster recovery technology that gives you the confidence to keep your business moving forward no matter what comes your way. Zerto empowers you to protect and recover your IT assets, move to the cloud, and know you're ready for anything. Get a free readiness assessment for your data center at confidentcio.com.
Welcome to Tech News Today. This is a show where we talk about everything important in technology, and we are the Ken Bone
and Joe the Plumber.
Joe the Plumber.
Yes.
Of Tech News.
That's right. I'm the plumber because actually over the weekend I plumbed.
Oh, you did?
I did.
You plumbed the depths of your soul?
No, I replaced the faucet in the sink. And I might add, totally did the thing that you see in movies where you take the thing off and the water goes right into you. It was awesome.
Did you have your burning Note 7 behind you?
In the background. And it was about to burst into flames, but thankfully the water hit it exactly where it was and put it out.
All right. Can you keep that further away from your face, please? Thank you. All right, that leads us right into our first story, plumbing to Samsung. Samsung says it will stop all sales of its Galaxy Note 7 and asks all carriers and other sellers to do the same.
Ooh, nice, Brian.
This is in response to all of those new reports of repaired devices catching fire, not repaired, but recalled replacement devices catching fire. The company has asked users to stop using the replacement devices, power them down while they investigate. They also say to go out and buy yourself a new iPhone 7 on their dime. They did not say that. Samsung has told Jordan Golson from The Verge that they're, quote, working diligently to ease the recall process for our consumers, but many are reporting having received some incomprehensible emails from the company about what to do next. What's worse, Samsung over the weekend, it came out that they knew the problem existed last week but didn't say anything, and hints that a cover-up come from a text message that a representative accidentally sent to the owner of one of the phones. The message said, just now got this. I can try and slow him down if we think it will matter, or we just let him do what he keeps threatening to do and see if he does it.
See if he does it. There's no basis for this stuff, see? Oh, man, this is such a nightmare for Samsung. And I think I'm beyond the point of feeling bad for Samsung because I suppose I felt a little bad the first time around, because it seemed like they reacted quickly, but then I reminded myself that, oh, wait, they should have caught this in QA initially. But okay, fine, they reacted quickly, they brought them all back. Now they're doing the right thing. They've got to fix whatever. Then they put it out, and then this happens. I mean, this is trust shattering. Mm-hmm. If the first recall did not sway people, like I know over the weekend, I saw a few of those reports coming through, and then I finally had the thought that I hadn't quite had yet, which is, no, I will never hand this to my kid when they ask to use it because it might actually blow up in their hands. Beforehand, I was like, well, maybe that was the case. I mean, I never actually opened the first phone, so I never had the chance to do that. But this time I actually had the, this is unsafe thought. What are the statistics that it would actually happen to me with this note that I keep holding in my hand dangerously? Probably not very much, but enough. You're reminded of it over and over and over again. I mean, Samsung dropped the ball. They said this was safe. It didn't happen. Then you see this leaked text message, which, man, kid, doesn't it just suck when that happens? from a PR standpoint, that's exactly what you don't want to happen. I mean, everything's going wrong for Samsung.
It really,
I don't feel bad anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. Now, Leo talked about this on Twitter over the weekend, and he pointed out, like, wasn't it surprising that they had all these replacement devices so quickly? And shouldn't we have been surprised then about that? Like they must not have really changed the design. What did they do to them to make them safe? I mean,
well, right. So did they swap in the bad battery or swap out the bad battery, swap in the good battery and then send them out? Or did they just have a large amount of stock already hanging out that they hadn't shipped out? That's kind of what I assumed was the case, is that they probably had a decent amount of stock with the other cleared battery. But did they check those batteries? Did they just assume that those batteries, well, they haven't really exploded yet, so they must be okay? Like, I don't know what they did to clear that. But they told everyone that they did it, and the end result is that it doesn't matter what they did or what they did not do. They're in this mess, and they have to take it because they've dropped the ball in a serious way. I really wonder what the long-term ramification of it is. My question for you is, do you think Samsung's so big that this doesn't affect them 1-2 years down the line?
I don't know, because they released, did you hear they released a PC today?
I did, actually. It didn't look very impressive.
Like called the Art PC or something. It kind of looks like an Amazon Echo, sort of looks like a Mac, like the Apple,
the Mac Pro, like cylindrical trash can thing.
Exactly.
They were like, we want a PC that looks like a trash can too. Let's do that.
I mean, yes, we should not forget that Samsung is an enormous company. They make washing machines, they make televisions, they make a lot of stuff. And so will people say, like, oh, I'm trying to decide between a Samsung TV and, a Sony TV? I think I'll choose the one that didn't try to hide cover up that sort of burning scandal. Like, so I don't know. I think they are besmirched officially.
And I do not believe that this is so locked into nerd culture that it doesn't permeate outside of that. Like, there's actually a lot of things that we talk about on this show and that technology enthusiasts get really worked up about that the grand population probably never even understands or knows or cares even. I think this has kind of penetrated that. When you're going on air flight after air flight, and every single time you hear at the beginning that there's one particular phone, and mind you, attached to Samsung, which is Android to so many people. Samsung is the same as Apple, let's say, with the iPhone. I mean, when you hear that time and time again, maybe the normal person doesn't necessarily recognize the Note aspect of it, but they definitely recognize the Samsung aspect of it. And I don't know. I think it's going to have long-term effects. I don't know what that is, but this is a big deal. Continues to be a big deal because we keep talking about it, but this is kind of the final straw. I don't know if they then come back at this point and say, well, we retooled the Note 7 again. Here, why don't you try a third time? I think it's done. I don't think there is a Note 7 anymore. Yahoo has been under the microscope lately, along with Samsung, kind of, with report after negative report rolling in showing the insecurity of the service. Many users are hoping to take action on their account, and the first step to getting rid of an email account often is to, transfer the email that you have there into another account so they aren't all lost for good. According to the Associated Press, Yahoo has disabled this feature and did so at the beginning of the month for users who haven't already set up automatic email forwarding, meaning there's currently no easy way for users to get their emails out if they wish to then close their Yahoo account. If you set it up prior, it's still working, but if you didn't, you can't do this right now. Yahoo simply points to its help site where it says the feature is, quote, temporarily disabled while we are working on it. What
email forwarding.
What are you working on it for?
Yeah, email.
People need this.
Really difficult to forward. I mean, how do you do it? No one's ever discovered that before.
Well, not to mention, this is a feature that's been around in these email clients for years and years and years. Strange that now suddenly all this stuff is happening and that you can't do it right now, suddenly. I don't know.
Yeah, I went to my Yahoo account just to see what if I had anything there, and I didn't. Just
what kind of spam do you have in your Yahoo account?
I know. So
we could trade stories.
Yeah. So there was nothing, and it was. I dug around to see if I could forward my email, and I couldn't. But this is lame, Yahoo.
This is lame, Yahoo. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I don't know if there's much else to say about this. Hopefully they change that.
Yes.
They need to do
Well,
that. I was
people
going to
were-
log into my Yahoo account and see what kind of spam I had, but that's
Yeah.
probably not good TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people had already switched to different email accounts, and yeah, so sorry. Apple and Samsung are headed to the Supreme Court to decide once and for all exactly what a design patent is worth. Tomorrow, Tuesday, October 11th, marks the day that the two giants will argue about just how much of the $399 million patent infringement suit Samsung will have to pay for copying Apple's design. The Supreme Court is not deciding if Samsung copied Apple, but how much they copied Apple and how much they should pay for it. Now, this is the first time the Supreme Court has taken a design patent case, since it helped settle patent cases regarding spoon handles in the 1870s and carpets in the 1890s. So this is a design patent. It's different than, it's not your grandfather's spoon patent, but
Samsung and Apple would only hope that it would rival the spoon and the carpet.
Yeah,
patents.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not a utility patent. Those are the ones that we normally hear about. So this has been 6 years of litigation. Samsung says basically, that this is like we copied like your cup holders. It's like saying someone copied an entire car just by like copying the cup holders. And Apple's saying like, it's a little more than cup holders. I don't know. It's like the square edges,
the rounded
bezel.
corners.
Yeah. So I don't know. They've been back and forth. Like they've really copied a lot of things from each other over the years. But yeah, now it's interesting that it's coming to the Supreme Court.
It's funny how over the course of the last couple of years, I mean, design has so just kind of converged in the same point. Everything more or less looks the same. And at this point, it's just kind of the way it is. But this is an ongoing case. There's a lot of money involved. Samsung claims that the award amounts to the entire profit of all of the 11 phones that are named out in the patent. But of course, federal appeals court says that U.S. patent law allows for Apple to recoup all of the total profit from those phones. So that's not outside of the ordinary. It's just that these phones are so old now. Like this case, when it began, and as it's been going on, Apple wanted all along to stop selling these phones. These phones are nowhere to be found anymore. Now it's just a matter of, okay, well, let's kind of sweep up the floor and collect some money.
Right, because they need money. I mean, yes.
They both put a lot on the line, made a lot of claims about the case, and now they just want to prove that they're right. I think
exactly.
It's really what it boils down to. All it takes is a weekend to take the wind out of Twitter's buyout sales. We heard late last week that Google and Disney were not interested in making a bid after all, and that took a hit on Twitter's stock value today with a 14% drop as a result. Salesforce, another company that's been in these talks, is actively reevaluating its interest based on the volatility of the stock, while reportedly considering a lowball bid based on the lack of bidders, the lack of interest in bidders, and poor stock performance. Ultimately, it kind of looks as if Twitter might just kind of have to go at it alone as far as this is concerned. Salesforce, their stock took a hit when these rumors happened that it might actually buy Twitter. Over the weekend, rumors surfaced that Salesforce might actually pass, and their shares shot up 7%. So it's obvious that shareholders just really don't dig the idea of bringing in a company like Twitter.
I think that Samsung, Twitter, and Yahoo should get together, form their own little company. I don't know what they would call it. Sam's Twitter you.
Yeah, they should. Whether they do or not, somebody should snap that .com up.
They
That's
should.
really good.
And meanwhile, like everyone we know, I know not everyone, but was glued to Twitter all weekend long. It was like a nonstop TV show. Like it was the best entertainment out there.
Yeah.
And yet nobody wants to buy them.
I don't know. When you're talking about a company like Salesforce, like you can kind of see how it fits in. We've talked about it many times on the show. One thing we realized very recently, and you were at Dreamforce, so you probably heard about their AI platform, Salesforce's AI platform, Einstein, kind of their new approach with AI and all that kind of stuff. The company already licensed the Twitter Firehose for that. So basically, Salesforce is already getting all of this information direct from Twitter. So it's not like owning Twitter gets them access to very much more data than they already have access to, in the same way that, Microsoft has access to that fire hose, and IBM has access to that fire hose. But maybe if Salesforce has Twitter, then maybe that allows them to kind of cut off that fire hose for others, and maybe that's a market differentiator. I don't know. It really seems like Salesforce already has, by to a large degree, a lot of what makes Twitter valuable, if what they want is the data inside of it.
Yeah.
They already kind of have that, and it's feeding their AI. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, data is what makes it valuable, what makes Twitter valuable. And what makes people afraid of it is the, abuse that's on there.
Right.
And then just the way things can just get so out of control so quickly. And, anytime anyone tries to step in and try to curb that, it's like, oh, well, there's our free speech. Like, it's just a minefield in that area. And so I think... Yeah, I don't. And, Jack Dorsey doesn't want to sell, and he's the CEO. So I got to say, that is part of it, probably.
For sure. But yes, you're right. This weekend was just one of those moments where I was like, man, if this did not exist, I'd be so bored right now, because it's moments like these, moments like this weekend, where Twitter, as a real-time kind of short-form communication platform, shines. I learned a lot just by watching Twitter. Hopefully I was learning, accurate, good stuff, and not, everything on the internet, there's good stuff and there's bad stuff, so you have to judge it all. But it was entertaining, at least. I'll give it that. And I don't have I don't necessarily always have TV. It's a great way to fill the void there.
But even the stuff that's wrong, like someone will tweet something that's obviously a rumor, and then people will debunk it right away on Twitter too. So it's super useful. Ars Technica reports that new guidelines in the UK will seek harsher punishments for certain kinds of online trolling, including doxing, virtual mobbing, nasty images, fake social media profiles, and more. A top prosecutor says under Part 2, Section 44 of the 2007 Serious Crime Act, perpetrators could face jail time, and this includes people who use social media to encourage others to harass people online. Over the past 4 years, the UK has been trying harder to police virtual abuse with initiatives such as the Online Hate Crime Hub that helps identify trolls and provides more support to victims of online abuse. Some are arguing that the laws are unnecessarily broad. The director of public prosecutions said these new rules are not designed to stifle free speech.
I don't know where to go on this one, because I get it and I understand, and we've all seen this kind of the activity on social media and all over the place, and it's not fun to watch, and nobody likes it except for the trolls who are doing it. Apparently they like it because they keep doing it.
Maybe they don't like it.
Maybe they just do it because they have, I mean, it's true. Maybe they don't like it. Maybe it's just like they're in a rut. I don't know what the situation is. I just don't know how effective it's going to be, especially when you consider that if you're in the UK and someone trolls you from outside of the UK, nothing can happen. The police can do absolutely nothing. This really only affects a small, and maybe that's the point. Maybe it starts small and then it grows big. But then I think it's just kind of like the whole slippery slope issue. Like, you're defining a lot of things. Some of those things are easier to pinpoint specifically than others. Always with this sort of thing, it's like, where do you draw the line? What is meaningful and what is hurtful, and what is, the difference between, I don't know, offensive or grossly offensive? I don't know where you draw that line.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. Like, it's, if you threaten someone's life, like,
like that's an easy one.
Right. And so, like, that doxing, putting someone's address online, like, does that threaten someone's life? I don't know. I mean, now you can come to my house because you know my address. I don't know. I mean, so they've already done some laws against revenge porn, and they've prosecuted 206 people since April 2015. That's pretty good. I mean, that's something that you could understand why, it was local, like the people, it's people that are harassing someone that they know, conceivably.
For sure.
Revenge porn, if you don't know what that is, posting pictures that were often taken willingly but then posted later unwillingly. So, I guess that is more local. The other thing they did, which you're not hearing as much about, but which I think is good, is the Crown Prosecution Service says sexting, engaging in sexualized images between those under 18, should not normally become the subject of a police investigation if it involves children of a similar age in relationship. And I'll unpack that a little bit. It's just like, you've probably heard in the news, like, people, like, teenagers who willingly send pictures of themselves, and then they're charged with child pornography. Like
even though they are under 18.
Right. Like a 15-year-old dating another 15-year-old is caught with this, and then someone's charging them with a crime, which is just like the so wrong way to deal with
Right.
that,
It's kind of the blunt force kind of application of a law that's pre-existing and not taking into account this kind of new evolution of things or whatever.
Right.
technology.
And I'm not saying, like 15-year-olds, just go and send naked pictures of yourself. Like, I'm not saying that, but it's just like to treat it as a crime, to criminalize it, as opposed to really looking into like, why are you doing this? Understanding what happens when you forward a picture to someone. They might, it might live forever, that sort of thing. Instead of just saying like, oh, well, you're now on the, the watch list of, for this child pornography. So I do think that's good too. But all of these are really fraught with so many emotions, especially when you're like talking about the sexual part of it. It's just like everyone's bringing so much emotion and energy to this. So I don't know. I guess I'm up in the air. I hope these are good laws and won't be mistreated, won't violate free speech, but I don't know.
For sure. Yeah, it's tricky. And, part of this is just that transference of so much can happen in the digital realm. And it feels, whether you're perpetrating this act or it's being done to you, like when it's done virtually, it's feels faceless, it feels anonymous, but it can have very real world consequences. Like, for example, doxing, and suddenly you've got some, stalker that's tracking your house because they know where you live, and you go for a walk, and like they wouldn't have known that you lived there had you not been totally doxed. So it ends up crossing into this different realm and makes you feel not only like affected emotionally, but kind of physically. And so maybe this will help with that. Up next, we'll chat with Jim Dalrymple about the removal of Dash from the Mac App Store. But before that, let's take a minute to thank LinkedIn Learning, the sponsor of this episode. The shelf life of skills is less than 5 years, and many of today's fastest growing categories did not even exist 5 years ago. Things are moving so rapidly nowadays. Introducing LinkedIn Learning. It's personalized, expert-led, on-demand e-learning from LinkedIn. You can keep your team engaged. LinkedIn Learning is the perfect way to promote professional development. LinkedIn Learning will identify the precise skills you or your organization needs to achieve to set goals. It's going to help you create personalized recommendations using LinkedIn's network intelligence. Your team will have access to more than 9,000 courses, and more than 25 courses are added every week. Their library includes courses taught by world-class industry experts, covering topics ranging from leadership skills to design principles, and of course, programming, and a whole lot more. You can learn anytime, anywhere. They have bite-sized segments that can be viewed on any device, online or offline. Those bite-sized videos provide immediate problem solving and can be downloaded to learn on the go. It's the perfect way to help team members close a skills gap without interrupting your latest project. Team solutions are available for as little as $2,000. Grow your network and your career. Visit learning.linkedin.com/twit. You can request a demo for your organization or get a free individual trial. That's learning.linkedin.com/twit. And we thank LinkedIn Learning for their support of Tech News Today.
Last week, the developer of a Mac app called Dash announced on his blog that his app was unceremoniously removed from the App Store and that his iTunes account was also shut down. Now, Dash is an API documentation browser and a code snippet manager popular among developers. Joining us to talk about why the app was removed is Jim Dalrymple from Loop Insight. Welcome, Jim.
How are you, Megan?
I'm good. So why did Apple say they removed the app?
So here's the thing. Rightfully so, people get very upset last week when this app was supposedly removed for no reason. Developers in particular were very upset because they don't like it when things happen on the App Store without them at least knowing what's going on. And it's understandable because that's where they make their money. So Apple today said that they had been working with this particular developer about App Store fraud for the past 2 years, and he wouldn't stop. So there was no particular problem with the app. I mean, you often hear that developers submit apps and Apple refuses them because they don't abide by the guidelines. That wasn't the case here with the particular app. It was the developer himself. Apple said that this developer posted fraudulent reviews on the App Store to the tune of 1,000 reviews, positive for his own apps. He has 2 developer accounts and about 25 apps. 1,000 fraudulent reviews, some positive for his apps, and also negative ones toward competitors' apps. So they tried to work with him. They tried to, get him to stop, and he wouldn't. So they finally just pulled the account and pulled all the apps.
So you wrote that they had proof, and even you wrote in your on Loop Insight the statement, and there were even a lot of people commenting on your tweet like, "What proof, Jim? What proof?" And, and Apple provided this statement to a lot of different sources that that they've been following this for a long time, but did they? So I mean, why do people think there was some other larger controversy at work here, that Apple was trying to kick them off? Like, why didn't they just believe Apple?
Well, I think what they wanted, what people wanted from Apple, and of course everybody's going to say what proof, and Apple's not going to provide that proof because first, I think that there's a privacy issue that they would like to keep this between them and the developer. But secondly, if you know how Apple found out about the fraud, then other developers can get around that. And I don't think Apple wants that to happen either. But I think what developers and the community really wanted was for Apple to acknowledge that they had not made a mistake, because a lot of people thought that there must be some mistake here on Apple's part. And they were really looking for Apple to account for that, to say, we have not made a mistake. We have checked and checked and checked, and this is right. And that's what they did. And I think for a lot of developers that I've talked to this afternoon, that puts it to rest for them. Apple has the proof, and this is what happened. So move on.
So I think what a lot of developers really liked Dash. It was an app that they used regularly. Yeah. So a lot of people said, why would he have to post, false reviews? This is a great app. He wouldn't have to do that. But then what Apple said was there were thousands of fraudulent reviews over 25 apps. Dash was not his only app. There were other apps. He had 2 accounts, like you said. So does this speak to how hard it is for developers to make money off an app? I mean, all these people, well-known people in the Apple world who use this app regularly and really liked it. But obviously, in order to make a living, this person had to do something else in order to make money from the App Store.
Well, yeah, we all know that it's difficult to make money from the App Store, and there are some great apps out there that we probably all have on our phones. But it's a difficult proposition to make money, especially starting out. So, if this has been going on for the last 2 years and he's been doing most of the fraudulent activity on other apps, I don't know where these reviews happened, if it was on Dash or if it was on the other apps. Let's just assume that it was on the other apps, and everybody looks at Dash and say, but it's such a great app. Why would he do that? Well, this isn't a case where it's a problem with one particular app. This is a case where it's a problem with one developer. And when Apple cut off the developer, they cut off everything. And you can't stand for App Store fraud. You can't. It's important to us as users. When I go in to download an app, a review may make the difference of which app I choose to download and pay my money to. So if all the reviews I see in this one app are bad, but they're fraudulent reviews, well, that's not really fair.
Yeah, I feel like we see that a lot on Amazon too, where it's really, really hard to understand. And then at a certain point, you start to lose trust. And that's a bad thing, when you're talking about Apple trying to drive people, drive business on their app store. There are businesses that exist solely to do this for developers, to go on campaigns to, make sure that you get positive reviews and potentially give negative reviews. How often do you think this sort of thing happens behind the scenes without getting caught?
Well, I think if you look at the scale of what Apple is saying this one is, that seems pretty large to me. But maybe it's not. 1,000 fraudulent reviews, that seems like a lot. But this could go on quite a bit on a smaller level that it gets under the radar.
Right.
And it gets under the radar at the App Store and on Amazon and other places too. It's only, I think, when big piles of reviews come in, all positive for one app, and then a corresponding app, and when they dig deeper and they see whatever it is they can see in there and track it down.
So a couple of people in our chat room just posted this link. I don't know if you saw it. I didn't see it. It's posted October 11th, which I assume is time zone issue for tomorrow. But Capelli, the developer, has another story. So he says that 3 to 4 years ago, I helped a relative get started paying for her Apple's developer program membership using my credit card. I also handed her test hardware that I no longer needed. From those accounts, they were linked in the eyes of Apple. Once that account was involved with review manipulation, my account was closed. So, I mean, I don't know. This is just his side of the story. And it sounds like Apple says they've been working on this for 2 years. So I don't know how much, how true that is, but I guess it may not be over. They said Apple said he needed to write a blog post explaining this. So we'll see, I guess.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know why he wouldn't have discussed this with Apple. I mean, it sounds like they've been trying to work with him for a long time. And, does that mean that it's his relatives that were doing the fraudulent reviews and things on the store? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen that link.
Yeah, I think this also speaks to just what a huge role the Apple App Store has in just our lives. I mean, you hear people talking about it all the time. You say, like, oh, well, Apple changed the gun emoji to a toy gun, but they still won't let weed apps in. It's just like they're making these decisions and they're big decisions, as much as we, want to say like, oh, well, they're just apps, but they affect a lot of people's daily lives. And sometimes do you feel like it is just like one person who's saying, this is the way it goes, the end? I mean, do you know anything about the appeals process?
Every time that I've talked to Apple or talked to developers that worked with Apple, I had an app myself. I worked with the App Store team, as a developer, not as, a journalist. So I worked with them in that way. They've always been very fair. But we have to remember, this isn't like a government park or something. They don't have to have the same type of transparency or fairness even that, somebody running a park would. This is a private app store. They can determine that you've not met the guidelines, that you're doing something wrong, and kick you out. Now, I haven't heard of Apple being so unfair as to, just wake up one morning and say to a developer, you know what, we don't like your app, you're out, and just close down their account. I've never heard of that happening, it's just not Apple. Apple has always tried to help the developers, but I think that they have to be aware of fraudulent activity and take decisive steps, and they have. In this case, they have. I guess we'll see it play out a little bit longer based on the story. I'll go read that after I get off with you, but we'll see it play out a little bit more, and who knows what will happen now.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about this. Jim, of course, writes for Loop Insight with Dave Mark. He is J Dalrymple on Twitter. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Take care.
See ya.
All right, Bob Solomine writes about our ongoing discussion about what will become of non-autonomous cars in the future. Bob writes, I think what often happens with technology is that it brings a necessity to leisure. What happened when transitioning from horse and buggy to automobiles and from steamships to airplanes will happen when we transition from combustion engines to electric. People will still own, restore, and build the old muscle cars as a hobby. We'll still have car shows. People will still drive them. I can imagine a time when a special license is needed to drive them among automated vehicles. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And there may be a carbon footprint tax, but they will exist. And kind of along these lines, kind of what Bob is talking about, I think I saw in the news that Germany has a plan to phase out all carbon engines basically by 2030. So that's the deadline for Germany. The race is on. We now know when Germany will not be using combustion engines anymore. So it's all about to hit the fan.
But they'll be like horse and buggies.
Yeah, it'll be quaint.
After the break, Facebook just launched a new app for the workplace. Will it hurt productivity or help it? But first, this episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Jira Service Desk from Atlassian. Are you tired of clunky support tools that are a pain to use? You can modernize IT support with Jira Service Desk from Atlassian. Jira Service Desk is a new service management software that IT teams will love to use. Built on the Jira platform, Jira Service Desk delivers everything your IT team needs out of the box at a cost-effective price. Jira Service Desk lets you give customers an easy way to ask for help. Help your agents be more productive, from putting out fires to helping employees get stuff done. You can stay on top of service level agreements with dynamic queues and mobile alerts. Now, if you find yourself with daily repetitive tasks, Jira Service Desk will let you automate them so that your agents can focus on solving the important stuff. Bruce, who is in charge of our engineering team here, uses Jira with the Twit engineers. He can assign tasks to them, and he knows what they're working on and where they are with every task. Jira Service Desk is simple to set up and so affordable you won't even need to ask your boss's approval. For a free trial of Jira Service Desk, visit Atlassian.com/twit. The first 100 signups will receive a free t-shirt. See why over 20,000 IT teams love Jira Service Desk by trying it free today. That's Atlassian.com/twit, and we thank them for their support.
So Facebook already has more than 1.6 billion normal users, and now it wants business users too. Joining us to talk all about Facebook's ambitions with Workplace is Kerry Flynn from Mashable. How's it going, Kerry?
Amazing, guys. How are you?
Doing awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Today's the official launch of Workplace, of course, known during its beta as Facebook for Work. First and foremost, is this a competitor to Slack, or is this something even more, do you think?
I would definitely define it as a competitor to Slack. They're going after really every major player in the enterprise space. They're trying to connect, really, just like Facebook's mission is, everyone in the world. And so really there's no stopping the size of business they hope gets onto Facebook at Work, which is now called Workplace, FYI. Keep going back and forth there, honestly, in my own talking of it. So yeah, really nothing too small or too big. When I asked them about it, they said they're interested in startups. They already have Fortune 500 companies on there. So I think their largest player still is the Royal Bank of Scotland, where it's upper in the hundreds of thousands are using Facebook at Work.
So tell us a little bit about the feature set here. I mean, is this literally like taking Facebook and applying it to a work setting inside the enterprise, or does it add extra features that we don't have on the regular platform? What can you tell us about that?
It's very similar to Facebook. It's what the team told me is 95% of what you see on Facebook is directly on Workplace. So really the similar feeling of having a news feed, of being a part of groups, of running events, and then all the posts you can see, you can like, you can comment. And then there's a messenger service that's very similar to what Facebook Messenger is like. You can have live video, audio calling. So they're very similar. I guess the major differences are the fact that everything you do on Facebook's Workplace is owned by your employer. And similar to having a company email, your account can be shut down by your employer. Also, just the security settings, everything is run by an outside administrator rather than you yourself. But feature-wise, it's very similar. I guess one other difference is they're now allowing multi-company groups, which means that as long as both parties have Facebook's Workplace, they can kind of communicate like you would via email or another service.
Will there be ads?
So yes, very great point you have there. There are no ads. So the business plan that they're doing by having a no ad free, you can't play Candy Crush or any of those games where Facebook makes their money off. Sorry about that. But yeah, they're doing a pay per user model where they're only charging per active user. And it's a different scale depending on the size of the company. So if you're under 1,000, it's $3 per user, active user. Then it goes from 1,000, 10,000, $2, and then $1 if you're above 10,000. So they're, again, charging on an active user basis and no contract for now, which means you could start paying for Workplace. And then if it doesn't, you don't doesn't work well with your company, you could terminate immediately.
Now, is it designed to make workers more social? Or is it designed to make workers more efficient by using these social tools? Because I know there are a lot of businesses that would probably their knee-jerk reaction to bringing social into the workplace is, well, no, we're trying to keep our employees off of social so that they can focus on their work. How does that come into play here?
I think Facebook honestly defines it as both. They renamed it Facebook at Work to Workplace to kind of get to the issue of what you're talking about, is they don't want it to seem like you're using the social aspects of Facebook and kind of not doing your job at work. They want it to be, hey, this is your workplace and your productivity online. And we're just trying to help you connect more. That doesn't mean that there isn't social elements of it outside of your day-to-day productivity. For instance, so you can be planning a project, and you can also be doing after-hour events through the network. A lot of the companies that I spoke to really see that being a big part, and the companies I spoke to don't really have a problem with that right now. It's like the viewpoint of, our employees are getting along more, and doing things more together. They're working and interacting with people that they may have never met before.
So do you think it's an effort for employers to get more information about their employees, whether they're happy, what they like, what they don't like? And where does, privacy come in? What about things that, might affect your health insurance that comes from your employer?
Yeah, I definitely see the employers really being able to glean more insights and really studying. One big aspect of Facebook's Workplace is using Facebook's Live tool. So there are multiple examples of CEOs of companies and other product managers using it to gain instant feedback and really having these conference calls with their employees. So that's going well. And obviously, too, you can run a poll. You can do other features to really keep up to date with your employees. So yes, that's definitely a benefit. As to security and privacy, whether or not you use an email or part of your employees' health insurance, they already had that information. From my perspective and understanding, there's nothing kind of additionally sketchy about using Facebook's Workplace, but that's definitely something to keep a tab on in the future.
So you wouldn't be liking Oreos pages or Marlboro cigarettes pages or something, and then maybe saying, well, I don't know about your health insurance.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really important to note that with Facebook's Workplace, there are only closed groups. And like we talked about earlier, there are no ads. So there's nothing kind of offline that's being gleaned, unlike, as we know, with regular Facebook, where there's, web browsing and kind of other information and interests about you are really informing your newsfeed. Here, it's just based on what you do on Facebook's Workplace. Important to note, too, it's very separate profiles. Your personal Facebook and your Facebook Workplace, if you use it at your employer, are two different profiles.
Yeah. Probably a good thing. I could see this working really well for mid to large, really large size. If they buy all into it and everybody's participating and sharing photos about the projects they're working on and groups and all that kind of stuff, I could see that being a really useful tool. I don't know about for Twit though. Maybe a little too small. We're all right in the same area, so maybe it's not necessary. What about Mashable? You think Mashable is going to get in on the workplace train?
I don't know. We are a decently sized company, and I can tell you there are people that I don't talk to here who would be nice to, kind of have that excuse to connect and be able to reach out. Yeah, we'll see. Definitely, one big point that I think is, at least Facebook is really trying to push about it, is the fact that it's really global. With a lot of companies they're talking to, it's where you have offices all over the world, maybe unlike you guys and other small companies, it's really for you're connecting your worker in London to your worker in New York, and really helping merge those. And also your workers who are really mobile.
Right. Awesome stuff. Kerry Flynn with Mashable. Tell people where they can follow all your work online.
You can follow me on Twitter or Facebook. Both profiles are Kerry M. Flynn. And just go to Mashable.com to read all of our content, not just mine.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on today, Kerry. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good night.
TNT's fan of the day is Alan Moore on Twitter, who says, "This is how I watch tech news today at work. The iPad mini gets lost."
Where is it?
There it is.
Oh, it's down. Is that the iPad mini? That tiny little thing down at the bottom?
Yeah, the tiny little thing, so no one sees at work.
I love that we're getting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 screens. I think we can do more. We can do better.
I don't know. I think smaller's better for me. Just record a video or take a picture of your setup if you want to be the fan of the day. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT. We will find it.
That's right, we will. Once I search for it, because it takes me a while to search for it, but I will. I promise.
You know how hashtags work, right?
Yeah, I do. I just click it, right?
Yeah.
And then it pulls up the things that it's. Yeah, I think I know. Up next, we give the boot to the boot. But first, let's take a minute to thank Zerto. They are the sponsor of this episode. Zerto is IT asset protection, it's disaster recovery, it's cloud continuity for confident CIOs. Confidence can make or break businesses in today's IT world. It can mean the difference between hesitation and action, success or irrelevance. Zerto's cloud-based business continuity solutions arm today's CIOs and IT pros with the confidence to know their systems are ready for anything. With Zerto, you can recover from downtime, you can test new technology, move to the cloud in a matter of clicks, all while maintaining business continuity. Zerto's virtual replication technology gives you the power to simplify your migrations. You can switch to new infrastructure faster and get quicker ROI. You'll know your data is protected by breakthrough hypervisor-based software that puts the power of continuous replication at your fingertips. You migrate to the cloud with no disruptions, with enterprise-class software that empowers you to seamlessly and safely move virtualized workloads between public, private, and hybrid clouds. You'll get complete, comprehensive data protection in one smart solution for BCDR across storage and hypervisors. Recover from any disruption with checkpoints. You'll protect and recover your files, your virtual machines, and applications from any point in time. See for yourself how Zerto simplifies your data replication and disaster recovery. Plus, you can get a free readiness assessment for your data center. All you have to do is go to confidentcio.com. That's confidentcio.com. And we thank Zerto for their support of Tech News Today. All right, thanks to SB Sheridan in the TNT subreddit for this last story. I've never had my car booted personally, but I've often wondered how it would feel to walk towards my car only to see that boot on the tire and know
it feels bad.
It feels bad. Does it?
From experience.
Oh, okay.
It feels horrible.
Okay. Well, what if instead the entire windshield was covered with a bright yellow plastic slab called the barnacle? A parking enforcement officer would simply snap it onto the windshield. It has 2 gigantic suction cups. They pump it up so that it holds around 750 pounds of force. The barnacle has a keypad on it and a little tracking system built into it, meaning if you try and drive away with the barnacle attached, it's going to trigger a high-pitched alarm. The jig is up, Megan.
I have so many problems with the barnacle. I don't know where to start. First of all, the boot keeps you from driving, but the barnacle doesn't. So you can drive with.
I suppose you could drive.
It's a large alarm, but you could drive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one.
Okay. All right, that's one.
They posted a YouTube video. We have the link in there. Part of it, the guy is doing it with his underwear on, explaining the product with his underwear.
The barnacle people?
The barnacle people, yeah. You can. It's toward the end so I also looked at the. He's wearing clothes, but at the but at the end he's got just his underwear on.
Do we want?
Sure. Yeah, no, he's got a shirt on and stuff. It's just boxer. Right. There he is. So that I suspect I know they were trying to be funny, but So I went through the YouTube comments, and that's how I learned about how this barnacle could conceivably be taken off. The engine oil dipstick, long and thin, like a Slim Jim. You could jimmy it under there and
750 pounds of pressure. How are you going to get that thing under there?
You jimmy it under the suction cup.
How is 750 pounds? Is that easy, Burke?
Burke says
it's
also
easy.
Someone who lives in YouTube comments and figure out how to get around the barnacle.
All right.
And the other YouTube comment, if I was a government, if I worked for the government, I would buy 40,000 of these, mostly because you presented the product in your underwear. So
okay.
there was that. So, I mean, I
That's all
get
it takes.
They made some good points. You don't have to kneel down in the snow or in the ice, but
Removing it's as simple as punching a code in the keypad instead of, taking, I don't know, it takes a while to get the boot off your tire, right? That's inconvenient.
well, you have to call someone and they have to come again, and
Yeah.
it's heavy and it's inconvenient. And a lot of people arguing. I can't believe it. All my research was done in the YouTube comments of this video.
Sometimes that's where the best research is done.
You still have
Not
the
really.
ticket,
Not really.
like you still have to,
Yeah.
your license is still, you
Oh,
still
for
have
sure.
to, right. So I don't know. I think the Barnacle, I'm looking for Barnacle 2.0 is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm sure if there's pressure, then there must be something you can puncture to relieve the pressure, to let go of there's probably many ways around the barnacle.
Yeah.
Maybe this was a bad story.
Maybe
to
it's a
talk
good
about.
question of the day. How would you get around the Barnacle?
What would you do with the barnacle, huh? Tell us, TNT@twit.tv. And we'll read it tomorrow during the show when we have a special guest. Tom Merritt from the Daily Tech News Show will be joining us. And super thrilled anytime Tom wanders into this monitor right here. He just happens to be walking by and we're like, oh, hey, Tom, why don't you join? And he's like, oh, okay, fine. So that's what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a camera trained on his home. And
He doesn't know this,
whenever
of
he
course.
walks by it, then we're just like, let's talk about the tech news.
I know you just finished your tech news story, your tech news show. Do our tech news show too. It'll be awesome. So join us for that. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. Find us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV.
And we, Twit, are now on the Amazon Echo Flash Briefing every single morning or evening or afternoon or late afternoon or early afternoon. You can get updates on the latest tech news and events from Leo, from Jason, and from me. To hear Twit's Flash Briefing, go to your settings in the Alexa app, search for Twit, and subscribe. It's a great way to start your morning or evening or evening, whatever.
Your life. It's a great way to start your life.
It really is. Today is the first day of the rest of your life, and you can get there with your Flash Briefing.
That's
Find
right.
all the ways to subscribe to our show at twit.tv/TNT. And if you want to tweet at me, I'm at Megan Morrone.
And I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to our technical director, Brian Burnett. Thanks to Burke for scrolling words on the screen. Thanks to Kevin for editing and making us look good or bad or somewhere in between. Thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see you all tomorrow with Tom Merritt. Bye, y'all.